Welcome to the sixth episode. Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Sixth episode of Love, Life and Entrepreneurship.
Oh shit, yeah.
It's quite... Time has flown.
Time has flown. Yeah, and we're flying. Woohoo!
We are available on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Find us, comment, like, follow, etc.
Jessie says that, and I've done a fucking horrendous job of actually setting up that stuff. It's like, yeah, I say that, but actually, I put it on YouTube, and then I don't do anything else. And it's like, guys, it's my commitment today to you, our loyal fans of me and Jessie, that I will turn this into an iTunes podcast within a week. So at least we'll be on a second platform, and then from there, many things will follow. Woo! Okay, cool. Anyway, over to you. Exactly.
So basically, we had so many questions. So I popped onto my Instagram. What was it? 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It was like, I got Deepak, and we're going to be speaking about love, life, entrepreneurship. Do you have any questions? So I'm not going to lie. I think this whole session is going to be questions.
Really? Oh, yeah. Amazing! How many questions did you get?
There were about 10.
Perfect.
So I'm going to cover all of them because I think we've got too many.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay.
So,
alright.
Some of these, some we've actually covered. I think, like I said, 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. But I'll see, just in case anything new, I'll ask them anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Kettle Black had a question about entrepreneurship. Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? Is entrepreneurship worth it? Man, it's like marmalade. No, it's not actually. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Okay, that question tells me probably not. For you, if you're asking that question, I think if you're asking that question, it probably isn't for you, because it's not something. It's like anything. It's kind of a little bit the way. So it's become a way of life for me, right? I mean, I think that depending upon how far into it you are and how far you stuck with it, then it can be something that people will either think about, people dabble in, and then people do, and it comes with its own challenges, of course. I was out for some leaving drinks, I think yesterday at 11 p.m. I was checking my phone because there was a client message because the Americans were still in the office, so they were just asking me stuff, and that might not be worth it for everyone. Okay, so I'd say that if you love it and you love what you do, or you love the idea of the control that it gives you, or a different kind of freedom, then it's definitely worth it. If you are like my cousin, it was his wife's leaving drinks, and he doesn't. He's bless him. He's a bare minimum kind of guy, and he's cool with that, and he embraces that. And the greatest victory for him will be kind of skiving during work and being like, oh, I had quite a chilled day today because manager weren't in, so I just chilled out. Or we went for a media lunch because he's in the media industry, and he'd be like, oh, we had a cool lunch. And that's for someone like that. I mean, I talked to him about it. He's my cousin. It would be ridiculous, that kind of application. So I'd say it's definitely worth it if you love it, and that's a process itself. So it's a really good question. It's actually a really hard question to answer. But I'd say if you're asking that question, it isn't worth it. Don't do it.
Maybe, I guess, if you never had experience of being an entrepreneur, I guess the first question is, because I suppose you don't even know the process of doing it. Like, it's very much something that isn't documented. There's no this, an entrepreneur is this. There's no structure to it, I guess.
There's I think you're right. There's so many different versions of it, and people can go away and do really interesting things with it. When I was doing training with the British Army, it was like, right, you want to be a basically trained British soldier, then you want to go to the British infantry. You do this, you do that, and it was like very exact. This is the training, this is the course, these are the times, these are the hours, and it was extremely
regimented.
Regimented, sequential. It was like, right, these are the sequence of things you need to do. If you do all of these, if you do them in these times, on these days, in this order, you will pass. Obviously, entrepreneurship is nothing like that. It's so fractured, and my path might be completely crap compared to other people's paths. So you're right, Jessie. I think that there is no one way. There's many paths lead to Rome. It's a cliche, but it is really true in this case. People, make their successes in all kinds of ways, whether it's being an ex-banker and then, getting a deal with a bank, whether it's, having an investment fund from, your parents, whether it's starting an app that, 4 months later you're worth £2 million, whether it's grafting and grinding, which is probably the part that it is for most of us, a steady, slow ascent over a period of probably decades in some respects. I listened to Grant Cardone, he's like, this journey has been a 30-year journey for me. So I think that's how it is for most people.
Yeah, really sticking at it. Okay, yeah. So in that case, it was Kettle Black again. So do you ever get any criticism from people? So do people like, oh, entrepreneur, like really?
No, I mean,
do you get that?
Not really. If I did, those people are no longer in my life. I've got no time for people like that. It's like fuck, it's like guys. If someone around you is asking that question or is commenting, that's akin to you being a professional footballer and someone saying to you, "Oh, why'd you play football for, dude? It's a bit boring." It's like, fuck, dude, I do this for a living. What kind of question is this? It's talking to a professional ballerina and saying to her, you might hurt your ankle going out tonight. I don't think this is going to be good for you. So I think that over time people have questioned me. But, the more committed you are to a path, the more questions people do ask of you. But in the end, the more respect that you get. First guys, You'll be on the right path. First, you'll get criticism if you're massively dedicated, and then you'll get respect. Everyone admires someone who sticks in the game, who stays with it. I've got friends who stuck with music, right? I tried to be a rapper back when in my 20s. We're talking like 10 years ago. I know a couple of guys still at it. Still try. I've got nothing but respect for them now. And I probably was one of those guys who was like, I'm not doing music anymore. I'm not sure that there's a future, etc. And I've been that person, and I think I was probably that person because I wasn't as well informed, and I didn't realize the kind of damaging things that I was saying. But then also number two, music wasn't my love, because otherwise I'd still be doing it. It was the business side I was more interested in. But being a musician and that whole creative thing, it wasn't the kind of creativity that would kind of that was right for me. So I think that if you're dedicated enough, people will self-select, and those people will get out of your way. Certainly, I've got friends who I don't really talk to as much anymore because we just have less and less in common. So I think that you should get those people out of your life, or if you're committed enough, they'll get themselves out of your life, or they'll go and move from criticism to a place of respect. You know what? You stuck with it, and it's always impressive. Most people just give up at everything.
It's true. It's very true. Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So we have another question. This is from. This is really good. This is from Chirac. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Chirac 70.
Okay.
What sacrifices did you make at the beginning of your entrepreneurial life, and do you have any regrets about them?
Ask that question again. Sorry.
So what sacrifices did you make when you started as an entrepreneur?
Sure.
And do you regret any part of that in any way?
Cool. So sacrifice number one would have been, I had a job at Deloitte. I think it was 2009, just after the credit crunch. I got the job in 2007 though, when the credit crunch hit. And I remember because I was like an English literature student, and I was like the only one of two people in a graduating class of a few hundred that got a job in a financial services industry at like a good firm. And then I had friends who were economists that were getting sacked or couldn't find work. And then I was like one of the guys who got a job at Deloitte as a consultant. And I remember 3 or 4 months into it, I think, that I went and did the internship. The internship was really great in that they put a lot of money into the after-work events, and money was flying around, and then you get kind of an interest-free golden handshake when you start. They give you $7,000 before you... So basically, I was 20. I did the internship in London. You rotate between audit and tax at Deloitte. This was in 2007 summer. And they're like, oh, so do you want to start when you finish uni, or do you want to start a year after? And I was like, I can start a year after. They said, yeah, we'll give you $7,000 as well during your year off, interest-free. You can just take it out slowly out of your salary. And I was like, fuck. All right, cool. I'll start a year after. I'll take the money. They're like, you just got to do something constructive. I was like, Yeah, I'll go to South America and fuck around. So I did.
Super constructive.
Exactly, it's super constructive for my enjoyment. So I did that, and then I came back, and I remember that I went to a networking event, and I remember meeting like a senior director. So guys, I don't know, I was like 21, and this was in 2008, 2009, I think it was. September 2009, I went to start after graduating, and I met this senior director who was maybe earning, it was earning 150k plus salary, right? So that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money today, right? I just remember looking at him and hearing him talking about work, and him with his, his wife and 2.4 kids, so to speak. I had a look into the future, and I was like, fuck. Is this what's meant to be the pinnacle of like the next 6-7 years? Work really hard, ascend, and you can be that guy. And I was like, I don't want to fucking be that guy. I was like, I don't want to be that guy. And that was like a revelation for me when I realized that you can become really accomplished at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And in everyone else's eyes, it might be considered to be a success. They're like, wow. No one can find work. You've got a job at this great company. Career's laid out for you. I'm from a working class family. My mum works at a supermarket. My dad's a driver. So they're like, oh, this is fantastic. And I just remember walking into the partner's office. Matthew Ellis, I still remember his name. He's like 5'2", from Southampton, I think, and wore these glasses. He was the highest earning tax partner across the big four, which is Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG, and
Accenture.
Yeah. And he earned £750,000 that year, and he did 1.5 million bonus. I remember because everyone knew about it. It was like a fuck ton of money. That was a lot of money. And I remember walking into his office and telling him that, Matt, I think I'm going to resign. And there's like, oh wow, because they spend a lot of money investing into you, and there's all this great stuff you get. And he's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to be a rapper, Matt.
Oh, that is brilliant. What was his face like?
He was like, okay, well, Deepak, I think that, you should give it some more time. And I was in the middle of starting the exams or something, or not the exams, like training to become an ACA qualified accountant. So ultimately, long story short, I resigned. Everyone knew I wanted to leave. I left owing the company about £4,000 still, and I thought that I could transfer departments and work in marketing because I didn't want to be in the roadmap for. I could not. So then I ended up having to leave and owing £4,000 or £3,000 back within 2 or 3 months. And I remember I couldn't afford it. Well, I mean, I was like, I can't find a job that's going to pay me 2 or 3 grand like now. So I think my dad ended up paying the bill. I don't think I've still ever paid him back. Shit. Okay, cool. Good reminder.
Got a lot of interest on that now.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I've come to collect, chump. So I still don't have any regrets about doing that. It's so that probably people will have put down as that was the step change. That was the defining moment, definitely, of kind of where I made a significant choice to forego like what could have been, I guess, I think it would have been a shit career, a half decent career, and I choose to trod this less trodden path and kind of see where that ended up, and it's been wild, I've done all kinds of random shit. I tried being the rapper, and again South Africa to doing a video shoot because I had 2 music studios. I had one in my mum's house. So I had these rappers that came from like East London, Birmingham, Manchester to come to like my mum's. They go through my mum's kitchen where she was cooking dal. They'd come like into the studio, and then I opened up a second one in Acton. I had a couple of engineers. One of the engineers was stealing the clients, and I remember calling up studios at the time. So I've got a £3,000 budget. The money I had left over from the golden handshake, or I can't remember how it all worked out. The sequence of how it all worked out. But yeah, no, it's Jessie. It's been wild. It's been a journey. You know, the only reason I started doing music videos is because rappers kept asking me, "Oh, do you know good?" Because I used to have rappers that would come, and it's still all on Facebook. I've got like 150 photo albums of all these fucking drug dealers basically that come to my mum's house, and they like barter with me for like £15 an hour, and they pull out like £3 in cash from like the coke or the weed they were selling, and they were in and out of prison and stuff. And they were predominantly of like African or Caribbean origin, but all of them really respect their mums. So they would like be so polite. My mum thought they were wonderful people, like these drug dealers that were smoking weed in the back of the garden. So, cup of tea, anyone? Anyone like a cup of tea? She's like, Deepak, what's that strange smell? I was like, it's nothing, it's nothing. And I made people like, go to the back of your garden. Don't smoke in the room, you can't. So it's just...
But that's life, isn't it? There's so many inconsistencies. Nothing is black and white. Nothing is like you're good or you're bad. Or there's so many different layers to the onion, if you like.
Yeah.
That's really cliched, isn't it? But yeah.
No, but it's true. It's true. You know, you get older and you're like, fuck, I'm saying all of those cliches that you hear and you think are bullshit. When you're younger, you're like, yeah, all right, mate. So I don't have any regrets. That would have been a point, but I look back at it and, you know, it was a defining moment for me. So I think that initially when you make that leap, it's scary. But it's, you know, don't look back. Go, yeah. I've got a friend who finally, I've been talking to him for months about. He's married. He has a job. He has talked with me about entrepreneurship. I actually initially reached out to him because I saw him online and I thought he was this cool kind of entrepreneurial social guy. And because he's not, Jessie, you have Frozen.
Yeah. Whenever the recording will stop and freeze, it's always the most random facial expression possible.
Yeah.
Never attractive. Ever.
I was like, you look so okay, you Frozen. No.
Staring intently at the camera.
Yeah, it's all good.
So I guess to say that, I suppose the main sacrifice you made was sacrificing what could have been what seemed by many as a strong career.
Yeah.
And do something that was risky to have to pay back a company that could have potentially given you a strong career.
Yeah.
And do it by yourself and sort of start alone.
Exactly. And I think that you know, everyone will face that choice at some stage, whether it's even a return to a job that will pay you, you know, a decent salary, and you can have a comfortable life, and you can have your kind of conversations in the pub and being like, oh, I had this idea, and it can kind of fade into the distance, and it's a choice that we make. And what's a real travesty if you allow that choice to be made for you by not taking control, not being purposeful with your actions, and perhaps winding up like, you know, with a mortgage and a wife or a husband and a child, and, you know, having to start out at a stage where you need to cover bills of like £4,000 a month, and that being, you know, your first journey into it. You know, I've been dipping my toes in the water from, you know, like 21, 22. So, you know, I've had a lot of practice of getting things wrong and fucking up and trying so much random shit. And we all need that, right? Because otherwise, you know, so it's like anything. I'd say, you know, if you have ideas, just act upon them, and there is time, you know. So anyway, that's it.
Wicked. We got the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one was, let's have a look. Okay, this is an interesting one. So a guy from the northern suburbs, I'm going to assume, because it's called Northern Suburbs Dude.
Yeah.
Epic name.
I like that.
He asked, what do you find better? So in terms of like distracting yourself from business and life and all the stresses, is fitness a better release, or going out, having fun and drinking with friends? Like, how do they compare? Is one better than another? Like, what do you feel is the best thing for you, or is it a combination of both?
I do more of the fitness thing. I find that that's much more helpful with keeping me kind of balanced. It gives me more energy and more focus with work, and that's good. And it just makes me feel healthier and those kinds of things. Invariably, though, I'll still go out sometimes. At the weekends, I end up going out. Yesterday, I went out drinking and partying. Now I feel a bit crappy. So I'd say 80-20, 80%, like day to day, literally, it's fitness. You know, fitness is something, but it's become more part of my routine more than anything. I know a lot of people that do entrepreneurship that don't do any training really, or don't do much. So I think it's a very personal choice, if I'm being honest. I think it's very personal. I think that everyone's different. I think for me, it's fitness. Others find their respite in being with friends and laughing and disconnecting from work. And I find some of my disconnection when I'm training. So I think it's very personal.
Wicked, yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Also, what does it mean for you to live your life this way? So I don't even need to extend on that, do I? There we go. That's the question.
To live my life this way. Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's a fulfillment of my purpose a little bit. I think that I spent a long time trying to figure out, find myself. It sounds like a cliche, right? And let me say what I practically fucking mean by that. When I say find myself, I think determine a direction that stimulated me. I think sort out personal issues that relate to, coping with perhaps some of my insecurities and relationships I had. I think that there was also a lot of experimentation. I tried this rapping thing. I tried running a recording studio. I tried recording music videos, and then I tried doing tech startup stuff. I think it is a journey, but you don't see it as that when you're in the moment, and you can't really think like, oh, I'm on this journey. Everything I've gone into. I mean, certainly for me, everything I've gone in with the attitude that this is the one thing. This is the thing that's gonna explode, and then history shows you that that's a load of bullshit. But that's fine, because you have to have that attitude, and I think, it's important to have that attitude, right? And it's important to have that approach. So I'd say that that having the space to have that attitude, to have that approach, is massively important to me, and it means everything to me, right? I'm very much an all-in kind of guy, and I've got friends who run successful businesses that clock in, that check out outside of 6 p.m. and check out at the weekends, and I'm just obsessed with work, or the things or something that I engage in. So, and I love it. For a while when I was around different people, I thought it was a bit weird. I thought that I was embarrassed to talk about work on a Friday night at 10 p.m. And I'm like, fuck it, this is who I am, this is how I am, and I'm being so much more successful as a consequence of it. So yeah, it means everything to me, and I think that I think that it takes time to find it. It takes us time to find that, and I think that a lot of people get sometimes worried or inhibited by the fact that this isn't the one thing that I'm going to be doing in 10 years, but that's fine. That's okay. Even if you just do it for 3 years, that's perfect. It's great. So I think that a lot of people kind of psychoanalyze it. I've had a couple of conversations like, Deepak, running a video production agency isn't my, ultimate passion. And I was like, dude, I didn't grow up thinking I'd want to run an SEO agency and, I wanted to rank people on Google. I was like, it's just how it's played out, and I'm in it now. I have a decent enough level of enjoyment, plus a passion for entrepreneurship to combine the two and turn it into something that I love. I think that that's just actually the same for pretty much everybody. You have a little bit of a predisposition in the space, you get some good results in it by doing it, and then you want to do more of it because the universe tells you, hey, you could do well here, or you're good at this, and you just keep doing that stuff, and don't worry about what do you do? I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, recorder / video director, which is all fine and well, but that's it's just finding your one thing. I think, but it does take time, and it's normal, and it's okay that it takes time. It's like, fuck it, your one thing might change every 3 years. Who cares? There'll be one thing that succeeds way more than everything else, and that will become your one thing just by consequence of the fact, wow, I made $5,000 doing this. Then the answers will happen all by themselves when you start making money from something.
So it's really weird. There's a great thing. I've seen it a few times. I think it's been like Facebook and Twitter and things like that. And it's, I think it must be like an infographic, but it's of all the people who succeeded later on in life. So we're still relatively young compared to a lot of people. And the gentleman who set up KFC did it when he was like 64.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like every time I get a bit like, oh, you just see how many times people tried and people failed before they became successful. And it can be a super long road, but you really can, just because you're 30 or 40 and at that point doesn't mean at 60 you're not going to succeed.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I need to find it. There's an old interview with Mark Zuckerberg when he's in the early stages of Facebook, and they say, do you think that, what's next? What's your next going to be the next thing you think you're doing? He's like, there's not going to be a next thing. It's like, Facebook is, he was like, I was fortunate enough to have, my best idea when I was 19 years old with Facebook, and he's like, I'm never going to have an idea that's going to be as good as Facebook. So I'm here. This is going to be my legacy. And he said I was fortunate enough to find that at 19. Other people may find that their success comes at 49, and that might be the year in your life which everything changes. So I completely agree, Jessie, that greatness, everyone's path is different, and greatness can come at different times in your life. That's not an excuse to be motherfucking lazy, people, because you got to put the work in. You're not just going to sit on your ass and be like, yeah, I've got time. You have got time, but you got to put the fucking work in. Otherwise, you will not have the skill set. You will not have built, all of the tools and the resources will not be in place, because all of the dots do connect, like Steve Jobs said. Like, and assuming that that's all there, fuck yeah, I agree with you. Pearl Lemon might not work out really, or it might top out at a £450,000 business, and my great thing might come at 39 doing something completely different. Who knows? But yeah. That's also the beauty of it, right? So I agree. I totally agree.
I think, Deepak, this has been super amazing. We haven't got through all the questions yet either. We've actually pretty much hit our time. In that case, I'll leave this for you to put out. But everybody who's watching, I hope for everyone's questions we answered them well enough. If you've got more questions, please, if you've got any more questions, drop them through. We'll be pushing this out on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
We're going to be running ads to it now, which would be great. I'm excited.
It's like, we'll see how that goes.
Exactly. Okay. All right, everybody. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.